The images of chaos in Afghanistan have deeply resonated with veterans from another long war, Vietnam. That conflict was far more deadly than the one in Afghanistan, but both ended with an enemy takeover of the capital city and a desperate American-led evacuation. Some Vietnam veterans say the Afghanistan withdrawal has triggered symptoms of post-traumatic stress, while others are voicing frustration and powerlessness. Carson Frame reports for WUNC's American Homefront Project.
In just a week, the Taliban took control of the Afghan government and are returning the country to a theocracy. Haunting images of Afghans overwhelming the Kabul airport and hasty evacuations dominated news coverage and social media. For Russ Clark, a former Marine infantry officer who fought in Vietnam, the scenes feel strikingly familiar.
I'm seeing right now the scene of the evacuation going on. The helicopters, or choppers as we call them, on the roof of our embassy there. It's almost identical to the scenes that I saw evacuating from the rooftop of our embassy in Saigon. And so, yes, it triggers a lot of those memories.
The emotions are much the same, too, with a heavy dose of grief and confusion over what it all meant.
The feeling is one of pain, futility, the sense of powerlessness, even embarrassment, deflation. All of those are what I'm naming as part of what I'm dealing with right now.
Echoes of Vietnam aren't just affecting Clark. Steve Schwab, CEO of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, calls this an acute crisis for veterans of that era, many of whom were already facing service-related injuries.
Before this withdrawal, we saw rising suicide rates among Vietnam veterans because they're at that age and they're suffering from those conditions and they're experiencing loneliness and disconnectedness at levels that are obscene. And then you layer this on top of that, and it amounts to a crisis.
Schwab says he's hearing from veterans who are consumed by television news and social media, which is a huge trigger for their PTSD, anxiety, and depression. He adds that Vietnam veterans are dealing with an extra layer of stress, given the similarities between Afghanistan and the war they fought.
And frankly, many of them predicted and warned this might happen again. And sure enough, right, they're seeing that play out. So for many of them, their worst fears have come true.
In recent days, the Dole Foundation, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Military Health System, and other veteran-serving organizations have sent out email blasts offering support and mental health resources to veterans and their families. Advocates across the board are urging veterans to disconnect from the news and connect with other people. Ron Harris served alongside Russ Clark in Vietnam as a Navy medical corpsman. He has some advice for younger veterans who may be struggling now. Get help.
Talk with your friends. Talk with those who were close to you during those times in Afghanistan, and get help. If you're having it bad, get into professional counseling now. You know, when we came back from Vietnam, we didn't really have that stuff.
Harris says he feels irritable and angry about what's happening in Afghanistan, but he credits his wife and family with helping him get through it, just as they did when he got back from Vietnam.
The good things that are in my life, I am thankful. I have 4 great children, 8 grandchildren, and we're heavily involved and invested in family, and that helps.
Harris says it took him years to come to terms with his experiences in Vietnam. He hopes that with greater support networks, the after effects of war will be easier for younger veterans to manage. I'm Carson Frame in San Antonio.